Hello, everybody, and welcome to this last installment of my summer series, my top 40 favorite albums of all time, with no caveats, with all my biases in place. This is just my full stop favorite albums. There can be multiple albums by the same artist, multiple albums from different decades, different genres, whatever I want to put together. I put it together in this big list of 40 records. I've been doing 10 records per each episode in the series, so if you want to check out albums 40 through 11, you could check out the 3 previous episodes that I've done on this series. A lot of the albums that I've talked about, especially in the most recent episode, are behind me on the wall to give an idea of my taste. I'm a big prog nerd, and I specifically like modern prog. And so that's really what you're going to see a lot on this list. So, and you're going to see the full biases in place, especially in this top 10. And a lot of these albums are just personal to me. Maybe if you were judging it objectively, you wouldn't say this is some of the best albums, even from some of these bands that I'm going to be featuring, but they have a personal connection to me, and that's really what matters in this list, is kind of that perfect culmination of really great quality album plus my own personal history with it that makes it that much more special in my personal eyes. So there you have it. I'm going to talk about my top 10. I'm going to move over, showcase some records for you guys, and hopefully you enjoy the episode. So let's get into it. All right, first at number 10, I've got Haken and their album The Mountain. Many of you who know that I love Haken were probably wondering when this was going to show up on the list. And here it is at number 10. This is from 2013, heavy prog metal from the UK. And this band has fast become one of my all-time favorite bands, just from their run from Aquarius up to the present day. And to me, this is the peak of their powers on The Mountain. It was the album that really solidified my love for the band. I first heard them with Aquarius, and I liked it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I thought Visions was a little bit better, but still was looking for something like some special spark, I guess, for everything to click in place. And this was it. This was the spark that clicked it all into place, that made me fall in love with the band fully. And I've loved all the records ever since. There's just something really cool. They are able to explore these different areas of their kind of quirky prog sensibilities, but do it on a record that just sounds really pristine production-wise and has kind of a conceptual feel and flow. I love the Cockroach King, of course, as a big Gentle Giant nerd. That's always been a top favorite Haken song for me. I love Atlas Stone. I love, Falling Back to Earth. Just all these tracks are classics to me, and there's just a really great balance of the heavy prog stuff, the more metal sounding side of their equation, with the more quirky, proggy, eclectic stuff that they bring into the band. And so since the balance is struck so perfectly on this, where in the future their records would get a little more heavy than they are on this, and in the past the albums were maybe a little bit more, quirky and proggy, I think this struck the balance of their sound really well, and has always been a standout record in my collection. I just absolutely love every song on this, and I think the band really made something special. And I think a lot of people came into the band with this record. It really catapulted them into prog stardom, so to speak. So The Mountain by Haken is at number 10. Next on my list, I have The Whirlwind by Transatlantic. And this is a very special album to me. This came out in 2009, and really it's special because of the meaning behind its release. I was a huge, massive Neal Morse fan. I've talked about this even through this series, of how I fell in love with Spock's Beard pretty much right after Neal Morse decided to leave Spock's Beard and go on his own as a solo artist. But that also meant that he was leaving Transatlantic, which was another group that I had fallen in love with their first 2 albums, Sympty and Bridge Across Forever. And so not only was it sad that Spock's Beard wouldn't be the same, it was sad that Transatlantic was basically done as a band with Neal Morse leaving. So when I heard rumors in 2008 or so about Transatlantic possibly reforming, first off, I was skeptical, but once it was official, I was just blown out of the water. I didn't think Transatlantic would ever come back. I thought it was a one-off thing, that they did those first 2 albums and that was it. And the anticipation and excitement for this record was off the charts. And I just listened to this nonstop when it came out. It blew me away. It really just solidified my love for the group and for Neal's writing, and for his blend with him and Royna Stolt as kind of joint songwriters is kind of a perfect balance for me and my sensibilities. And I was so excited to go on the to see them live. I had never seen them live. Like I said, I got into the band after, Bridge Across Forever, after they had already basically broken up the first time. And to be able to see them live and perform this album in its entirety was just a mind-blowing, next-level experience. Still probably my top favorite concert that I've ever been to. I went with my best friend, and we just were blown away by it and so excited to see the band. And even reliving the experience, getting to get the live DVD that came out later. Me and my friend, we live in different states, but we kind of synced it up and watched it at the same time together, and we're just brought back all of those core memories of how special it was when we went to the concert together. So I love this concept record. I love an album that is like a suite of songs that connect one to the next, and it has an epic conclusion. I love Rose-Colored Glasses. It's such a meaningful, beautiful song that I absolutely adore. And just every moment is fun and exciting, and it has a relentless pace that I just absolutely adore. And so The Whirlwind is one of my top records of all time. It probably would rank higher in previous iterations of this list that I've crafted, but for some reason it landed here at number 9 on this year's version. So here it is, The Whirlwind. I would hardly recommend this to anyone wanting to get a taste of modern progressive rock. This is a great example of it. All right, next we have a Big Big Train, and it's kind of a cheat because, of course, it's really 2 records in one here. Both English Electric records. This is English Electric Volume 1 and English Electric 2 here. Both fabulous records, but really what's the cream of the crop here is when they combined it to create this record, English Electric Full Power, which combines both albums together into this big massive double album, and it rearranged the track list in a very satisfying fashion and adds a couple new tracks. And this is really the version that I'm putting at number 8 on my list, back from 2013. Big Big Train is a band near and dear to my heart, and I think they just nailed it on this record. It's just absolutely fabulous from front to back. Bringing some prog sensibility, but just some beautiful, gorgeous songwriting, great lyrics, great expression of the English countryside and of history, and all these different things coming together in a beautiful double album where every song is magical in its own way. There's no bad tracks that you'd want to throw away out of this album. I think every track hits hard, and there's emotional moments, there's fun moments, there's exciting new ventures into different styles of music. I feel like even something like Uncle Jack brings this kind of folky, fun, different acoustic setting to their sound. But you get the full-blown Genesis-style prog of the first Rebreather. Of course, the big epic East Coast Racer is lauded by their fans as like one of their highest masterworks, and I absolutely adore it. I think it's a brilliant record front to back. Brings kind of a great melodic sensibility. I think it's easily accessible too. I think a lot of people could enjoy this if you like, the Beatles and Genesis and a lot of these classic 70s bands, but they bring it into a new era and bring their own great sensibilities to it. Great lineup on this record. Of course, David Lungden has his beautiful vocals on this. I believe, basically his second project with the band after the Underfall Yard. You've got Dave Gregory, Andy Poole, Danny Manners, Greg Sponton, and Nick DiVirgilio, and they all are just playing at the top of their abilities on a beautiful, absolutely stunning record that I've continued to fall in love with to this day. English Electric Full Power, but take your choice. Either part 1, part 2, they're all excellent and well deserving of your ears. That's number 8, English Electric. And number 7, this is a very personal choice and maybe feels a bit high to other people who are students of modern progressive rock like me. But I have Lover's End by Moon Safari at number 7. This has always been a super special record to me. I've talked about my love for Moon Safari. Bloom Jude was on my list earlier in the series. But this to me is the perfect album by the band. I just, I listened to this record in a very difficult period in my life. Where I was dealing with some heartbreak, dealing with being in a situation where I wasn't sure what to do with myself and feeling really down and depressed. And this album really matched my feelings at the time. It's Lover's End, so it talks a lot about heartbreak and breaking up from a loved one and how to move on from those kinds of things. And it really spoke to me, and just gorgeous, uplifting, beautiful music. I love their harmony vocals. They're just next level outstanding. And A Kid Called Panic is just one of my favorite songs of all time. It gives me chills every time it comes up, and I just continue to fall in love with this album. And some of the shorter tracks are just fun and exciting, vibrant music. And I love their uplifting symphonic prog nature. They're a band from Sweden. This album came out in 2010, if I didn't mention it. And it just really captured my heart at the time in a big way. And I've continued to falling for it ever since. There's certain albums that just, the minute they come on, they capture your attention and immediately grip your heart, and this is one of those records for me, especially if you include Lovers in Part 3, which came about like separately on a separate EP, but I consider it part of this record as well. An excellent epic that's amongst the best of the material of the band. So Moon Safari to me are just one of the best bands out there, and I absolutely adore this record. I know it's not everyone's top favorite Moon Safari record, but it just has this personal connection to me that I can't deny, and just the way I feel inside when this music comes on, and the way it just lifts my spirits and makes my heart sing. I just have to put it high on my list at number 7. All right, number 6, another one I was surprised made it up this high on the list. But listening to it, I just was blown away all over again by how brilliant this record is. And it's Ayreon and their album Into the Electric Castle. This is basically the project of mastermind Arjen Lucassen, and he puts together this fabulous list of musicians and singers to perform this brilliant concept record, this metal space opera, if you will. And the minute I heard this was one of the first albums I really checked out after getting into the Spock's Beard, Flower Kings, Dream Theater, the whole Transatlantic crew. This was one of the first ones I explored, and I just was captivated by the story. I think it's a fascinating story about all these different people, these travelers from different eras in time coming together and having this adventure in space together. It's really wild and it's out there, but it's fun, and all the different characters are voiced so well by these different prog luminary and metal luminary singers. I just love just how it starts with Isis and Osiris is such a classic track, moving into Amazing Flight. I just think it's a fun record. It tells a great story. I love all the instrumental interludes that take you on journeys. I love just Arjen's aesthetic of blending these worlds of classic prog rock with progressive metal and all these different styles. He's obviously a fan of the Beatles and of Pink Floyd, as well as more modern metal. And I just think it's a fantastic record that takes you on a journey. And like I mentioned in a previous episode, I love concept records. I love the idea that music can tell stories and have you as engrossed as any novel could or any movie could. So I'm really a fan of this record, and maybe it is placed a little bit high on this list, but it really impacted me when it came out. It was one of those records that opened my eyes and my mind in a bigger way. And I had to explore Arjen's whole catalog, and I love every record. All his records are kind of interconnected in the same kind of universe, so to speak, most of them at least. And I just really like that kind of storytelling and that epic nature, and I think it's done really well here. Fantastic music and a fantastic record, Into the Electric Castle. Next at number 5, I have probably the master of all prog albums. This is kind of the blueprint for all prog albums that have come since. It's Yes's Close to the Edge at number 5 from 1972. To me, this is just a perfect record. You can't deny that they achieved something really fantastic here. Only 3 tracks, but they're each fantastic in their own right and kind of explore different sides and elements of the band. Close to the Edge is, yes, at its most epic, this big 18-minute sprawling piece that begins with chaotic energy, but then comes into its own with this prominent bass line and this really exciting groove and rock element. And then it all quiets down into this beautiful, gorgeous space where they're really allowed room to breathe with these beautiful vocal harmonies and this epic, majestic organ. And then we conclude it in a big, epic fashion. And You and I is them at their most beautiful, and they have acoustic elements and are able to really showcase something that's pastoral and bright and lovely. I think that's them at their most beautiful. But then you get Siberian Khatru, which is them at their most rockin', just a really cool rockin' track with fun, infectious grooves and choruses. and you have a masterpiece record that has no bad moments on it. That's clearly one of the best albums in progressive rock for good reason. Everyone holds this in pretty high esteem, and I think it's well earned. It's just a fabulous record that I've come to love and appreciate, and it really is what brought me into the world of progressive rock, honestly. My dad showed me all the classic Yes records, was one of the first things that he wanted to show to me, and I feel like when this record came up, my mind really expanded, and I think this is what made me realize that I like epic songs and that kind of storytelling. Just hearing that opening section of Close to the Edge was like mind-blowing. Like, wow, the music can be anything it wants to be. You know, they can do whatever they want with it, and it was exciting and fresh to my ears at the time, and everything else is kind of chasing the high that this album provided for me. So absolutely incredible record, and stands up to this day. And I like how a lot of these classic prog albums still hold up. You know, they still sound fresh. They don't sound too dated. And I think that's remarkable that they were able to bring something that's so timeless and special to the table. And this is truly a special record that I think really made its mark into this genre that I love so much. And it really personifies that in an excellent way. So Close to the Edge by Yes at number 5. All right, we're getting down to it here. And I have a feeling some people might not love my top few choices here, but this is my list, so I'm going to do what I want here. So first, I've got Dream Theater, Scenes from a Memory, Metropolis Part 2. This is from 1999. This is my album number 4 on the list, progressive metal from the US. And this is what really opened my mind to prog metal. This is the classic story, and you're going to be hearing this all the time throughout this last little bit of this episode. I cut my teeth on my dad's progressive rock music, like Close to the Edge, as I just showcased. I loved the prog music my dad showed me so much, I didn't want it to end, because basically my dad likes Yes, Genesis, and Gentle Giant, and that's kind of where his interest in progressive rock ends. He doesn't know many other bands besides those, and I was devastated that like this journey through progressive rock that I was absolutely loving was dead and gone. So I went and searched for other prog music, for music that was more modern, that was carrying forward this style. And I found Transatlantic and saw that it was a super group made up of several different musicians from different bands. So I downloaded a song from each of those different bands to see what would connect with me. And I downloaded The Glass Prison by Dream Theater, was part of this compilation that I kind of cobbled together. And it was probably my least favorite thing of all the songs that I downloaded from Spock's Beard and Flower Kings and Marillion and all those different bands. And I thought it's just a little too metal for me. I wasn't really a metalhead, and I didn't really like that more aggressive style. I'm like, this is like Metallica, who I don't really care for. But I just heard so much praise for this record, and people saying it was a brilliant concept record. And as I've talked about so many times, I love concept records. So I bought it just, because of the hype, and I was blown away. This really opened my eyes to progressive metal and made me realize what I was missing out on. And now I love The Glass Prison and all the other Dream Theater records. I think this is fantastic. This is a great entry point for the group, where they're just doing everything that they do well. I love the addition of Jordan Rudess here on keys. I think he brings a fun, proggier element to their music as well. So many great instrumental sections that just blew me away as a young listener and still do today. Every track has something fun. It's just a great ride, and there's no weaker moments, and there's epic moments. There's heavier, more rocky moments. There's some great, interesting, intricate storytelling. It's a really interesting concept about this kind of weird murder mystery, but with a little bit of a sci-fi angle. And I just absolutely adore everything about this record. It's what brought me into the world of prog metal. It's one of the records that solidified my love for modern progressive rock, and solidified me as a fan of Dream Theater, who are now one of my top favorite bands of all time. So a classic record, absolutely adore it. If you're to check out one prog metal record, this is probably the one you should check out, in my opinion. So Dream Theater, Scenes from Memory at number 4. All right, now we get into the final 3, which you're going to find has kind of a similar theme to what these 3 records involve. So first, we've got at number 3, Neal Morse's One album. And of all of his solo works throughout this period in time, which I've talked about on these episodes, I love starting with Snow, which is the final Spocksbeard record, but then moving forward to Testimony, this record, Question Mark, Sola Scriptura, that's like one of my favorite runs of music of all time. And I absolutely adore all those records. They've all been on this top 40 list in different places. But this is the one that tops them all, just for my personal connection to it. When it came out, I was just so blown away by it. I just felt so connected with it. I think The Creation is one of his best epics that opens this record. It's really fascinating how he's able to tell this like biblical classic story, but with expressive, expansive prog music, and I think that's really cool. But he brings all the different elements from his sound. You have Author of Confusion, which brings a heavier, darker element, but also those kind of Gentle Giant counterpoint, style vocals. And I love The Separated Man. It's just such a great journey of music that leads to some really interesting directions, some like almost folky elements from Neal Morse. He has some incredible ballads. I think Reunion is such an epic, fantastic conclusion that brings this kind of party vibe and atmosphere to wrap this all up in a perfect way. I just love every moment of this record. I think it's beautifully crafted. I think it's Neal Morse at the height of his powers. I love Testimony, and I love the personal nature of the storytelling on that one, but I feel like this amped it up a step farther and brought it into a little bit of a proggier direction, a little bit more mature sounding, but really brilliant all at the same time. And to me, that's what Neal Morse does so well. He has some accessible moments. He's a great songwriter, has great hooks and melodies and choruses, but is able to expand it into this wider world of music, expand the sound into these bigger pieces with these different sections that all hang together fabulously well, and bring in different styles and different things into the music to create a whole piece of music that just works. And I love this record with all my heart. And here it is at number 3, Neal Morse's One. Next at number 2, you've got to have it on the list. I love this record so dearly. It's The Similitude of a Dream by the Neal Morse Band at number 2. This came out in 2016. And to me, this was a revitalized Neal Morse, who had been a little bit, floundering a little bit perhaps after that epic solo run of records like I talked about, probably all the way up to like Testimony 2, which I absolutely love as well. And I love all these records, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he entered a little bit of a slump where he did some really interesting good record. He did Momentum, and then of course the first Neal Morse Band record, which is really great as well. But I feel like when this came out, it just showcased that Neal still had a masterpiece in him. He still could craft excellent, sprawling concept records, just like he did in his earlier days, and I think it comes across just amazingly well on this record. Just a ride and a journey from start to finish. It has one of the best Neal Morse overtures. It has one of the best Neal Morse finales. That whole epic ending is just something that touches me to this day. Just every time I hear, Eric yell out, "Come on," and hear that glorious reprise of the main theme, it's just like mind-blowing music that just touches me deeply in my heart. And there's so many fun moments. Like every track has something cool and different, and it goes on this journey. I love all the interludes in between the songs that bring these cool proggy instrumental sections, and they're able to move into different genres. There's heavier rock on here. There's like more of a Beatles-esque kind of power pop sound in Ways of the Fool. There's some epic, more arena rock kind of style stuff, like Back to the City. There's so many cool things just all the way throughout this record. It has so much variety on display that you never get bored by it, and yet it all feels interconnected in a brilliant way, leading to some epic moments. And that's what the best music does for me. It touches me emotionally, it entertains me, it interests me from start to finish. It has excellent songwriting that sticks in my head. I could sing any one of these songs for you. They all have hooks for days. And excellent musicianship and playing. It's just all here in a big way, and it just blew me away that Neal Morse, this far in his career, can craft something this special and this significant. I think this is a brilliant record, one of the best of modern prog. I think it should be considered in the pantheon of like greatest prog albums of all time. I know it's modern, I know it's not Yes and Genesis and Pink Floyd and all those artists, but man, it just really hit a home run, and I absolutely adore this record from start to finish. and will defend it to the day of my death. And I love the great adventure that came after this, kind of creating a even bigger, wider universe, creating these 2 double disc concept records that fit together as a big whole piece of music. So that makes it even more epic and special, honestly. But this is the side of it that really has my heart first and foremost, and is at number 2 on my list. Just barely missing the cut as my favorite record of all time. But for my number 1 record of all time, I have to keep it to what I've always said is my favorite record. It's never changed, and it probably never will, because this is the record that really solidified my love for music, my love for modern prog, my love of Neal Morse and his songwriting, and just brought it all together in a way that just has continued to blow me away to this day. And it's Transatlantic's Bridge Across Forever. The first song I downloaded when I was exploring modern prog was Duel with the Devil, which is the first song on this record, and that's what hooked me in. I was like, okay, this is exactly the kind of music I was looking for, and I was a fan from that point forward. And hearing the full record just made it even better. I love epic songs. I love these 20-minute pieces of music that take you on journeys and have so many different parts and sections to them that are epic and that can return to themes. And, I love how Neal Morse does that. I love how Roy Stolt does that. And they both work together in tandem on these records. Excellent musicianship. I love the whole Sweet Charlotte Pike medley, which kind of brings back that kind of classic Abbey Road style suite, which is just absolutely fun and enjoyable. I think Bridge Across Forever, the title track, is one of Neal's best ballads that he's ever put together. And then Stranger in Your Soul, oftentimes I consider that my favorite song of all time. I just think it's so epic, so classic. Just every time I put it on, it just gets me amped up and excited, and it has that classic Neal Morse epic ending to it as well. But the band is just on fire throughout the whole track. I love the section where they're trading, vocal moments. They each get a line of a vocal section, and it's just so cool. There's some heavier, more metallic moments actually in the track as well. So it's a great blend of classic prog and modern aesthetics and sounds that blends perfectly well together for me. They're one of the greatest group of musicians ever assembled, a true super group that deserves that title. And I absolutely love this record for how it brought me into the world of progressive rock. I mean, my dad's old school prog music is what brought me into the world, but this is what made me a massive fan and felt like this was my own music, as much as I love the classic records, as much as I love Genesis and Gentle Giant and all those bands, it wasn't until I listened to Transatlantic, Neal Morse, Spock's Beard, Flower Kings, Dream Theater, what have you, that I really felt ownership to this music, that this was my music. I had discovered it myself, and it was something special and unique to what I was experiencing, not just reliving my dad's glory days, but actually crafting my own glory days. And so this will always be at the top of the heap as one of the most important records that I've ever come across in my life. So number 1, Bridge Across Forever, Transatlantic. All right, and there you have it. That's the end of the list. I know some people might not love the fact that my top 3 are all Neal Morse related records, but that's how I feel. That's just the records that have meant the most to me. So, like I said, I'm including my full biases in place, but I think there are 3 excellent albums to introduce you to the world of modern prog, to introduce you to the world of Neal Morse and his songwriting. And if you're not a fan of Neal, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions and, gets to decide what artists touch them and are important to them. But that's just the music that has touched me over the years and has been important to me. So I wanted to give it its fair due and put it on the top of the list, regardless of any other caveats that I might usually put in place. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you appreciate this episode. I'd love to know in the comments your favorite albums of all time, what you feel about these ones, what you would put in your list. It would be great to know. So thank you guys. And once again, it's the order of all these albums is somewhat arbitrary. Next year, if I redid this series, I'd probably put everything in a completely different order. But I think it would pretty much be close to these 40 albums. I think they all are deserving of their placement here in my list in the Pantheon. of greatest records that I've ever heard. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you hopefully in a future episode. Thanks for enjoying the series. Check me out in future episodes. I'm always trying to bring people into the world of modern prog and showcasing some of the best and brightest music that exists in today's day and age. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you in a future episode. Bye. Enjoy the music.